Greetings of the day. In this video lecture for BCom 4th semester financial accounting, we will discuss about the pro forma of liquidators final statement of accounts, which we have started the theoretical framework in the earlier video lecture. So we will start with the pro forma of the same. First of all, what we have to do, we have to put on the heading liquidators final statement of account. Liquidators final statement of account. For dash dash company limited, whatever the name of the company would be inserted, for the period, whatever the financial year would be given to us, we will put the same on the heading of the pro forma. So as we have to prepare the liquidators final statement of accounts, and what we have discussed in the earlier video lecture regarding to the theoretical background of the same, we have to prepare a format regarding to cash receipts and cash payment. We have discussed the definition of liquidator. It is the person who is been in charge either by the members or by the creditors or by the court of law for the purpose of liquidation or winding up of the company. And we have seen the function in which he has majorly 3 to 4 functions. One function was disposing of all assets and realizing cash. Second one was payment of the creditors or members if the funds are available. Third is preparation of the final statement of accounts and submitting all the document time to time to the registrar as well as court. So what we have to do, we have to bifurcate our statement into two parts. First one would be cash receipt and second part would be cash payment. So there would be at least two columns: cash receipts amount, cash payments amount. Serial number would be as per our convenience. I have put the thing because it would be convenient to remember the number of heads which we have to insert into the liquidator's final statement of accounts. Coming to the first of all cash receipts, there would not be any kind of debit or credit side, so therefore there would be cash receipt. In cash receipt, first two head would be cash in hand and cash at bank. If suppose cash in hand is absent, then directly we can put nil in the amount column and we can directly move to cash at bank, or else vice versa. If cash at bank is not available, we would write cash in hand and then we will mark cash at bank as nil. So as these things, that is cash in hand and cash at bank, are already in liquid form, hence cannot be realized by him. That is why they are taken directly into the first numbers, that is cash in hand and cash at bank. Once the liquidator has gone through this process and he knows what is of cash in hand and what is cash at bank of particular company, then what the primary function of liquidator would be, he has to realize the assets by selling it off, whatever the assets which are being held by the company. Few example of assets are being written on the board. It can be freehold property, leasehold property. Usually land and building would be there, definitely. Plant and machinery would be there, furniture would be there. In certain cases patent and trademarks can be there, then investment can be possibly there, stock would be definitely there, bills receivable can be there, and as well as amount recovered from debtors. Remember one thing, when the business goes into the liquidation process, it is not necessary that all your debtors would pay you or they would pay you into the full. Hence amount recovered from debtors would be taken, and once we get whatever the heads which are being available into the question, we have to make total of it and take it into the amount column. So these are the major things which we have to take. Remember one thing, these are not taken to be on the book value. It would be as per the adjustment which are being provided into the question, whether the realized value is appreciated or depreciated by the liquidator. That can be possible things, so we have to take into that manner. Another thing with regard to this is that it can possible that these number of assets which are to be realized by liquidator can be more into the question or less into the question, hence take that into account. Then fourth one would be to surplus from securities, if any security is held by the company, that security is to be realized, and after realizing, if there is any kind of surplus from realization, that would be taken into the cash receipt side. Then we have discussed that the shareholders, with regard to shareholders in the previous video lecture, that if there are certain calls in arrears, it is the duty of the liquidator to call that arrears with the shareholders, so that that amount can be utilized for the payment of creditors. Remember one thing, shareholders, either preference share or equity, are the last beneficiary or are the last recipient of any kind of benefit from the company. Hence, if suppose these creditors are not paid in full and there is certain amount of calls in arrears with certain shareholders, it would be the duty of liquidator to call that calls in arrears and make the payment to creditors. Then similarly, call on the shares can be put. We have discussed it earlier. If there is partly paid up share capital of the company and creditors are not able to be fully paid by the liquidator, definitely liquidator can make call on shares and shareholders are to be paid the amount of the same. So these can be the possible receipts for the liquidator from the company. First two heads would be cash in hand and cash at bank, followed by assets realized, after that surplus on securities, then calls in arrears, and lastly it would be call on shares, either equity or preference. Once we are done with the what we can say receipt side, now we can move to our payment side. Majority of adjustments are related with the payment side. Very less things are to be confused or are difficult in the side of cash receipts. So first head in the cash payment would be payment to fully secured creditors. Remember one thing, when we are preparing liquidator's final statement of account, it is quite necessary to follow the sequence, because first of all, fully secured creditors are only paid. We cannot pay partly or unsecured creditors. So first of all, fully secured creditors, those creditors which are backed by certain kind of securities in the company, are to be paid in full first of all. After that, there would be payment of liquidation expenses or legal expenses with regard to the liquidation process which is going on to the company, that is taken into account, followed by liquidator's remuneration, whatever the amount is to be paid to liquidator for his what we can say work with regard to the liquidation of the company. For that purpose, he or she is entitled to charge remuneration. That remuneration is to be paid earlier. So there can be two ways by which we can calculate the remuneration of liquidator if directly is not given into the question. First can be percentage of amount realized from assets. Whatever the assets we have realized here, if problem says so, we have to pay fixed percentage of the asset realized, then that amount is to be taken, or else the payment can be made by percentage on payment to unsecured creditors. So when we speak of prior thing, that is percentage of amount realized from assets, so it would be for say 10% of assets realized, so we can directly calculate this total and we can take directly 10% and take it as a liquidator's remuneration. But the question comes, payment to the unsecured percentage, unsecured creditors payment. For that purpose, we need to follow either of these formula according to the condition prevailing into the particular problem. So first would be on the basis of payment to unsecured creditors. If creditors are being fully discharged, at that point of time, the formula would be applicable, amount due or payable to unsecured creditors into rate of commission divided by 100. Simple and straight formula, amount of unsecured creditors into rate divided by 100 if creditors are being fully discharged. Secondly, if there is not full payment made to the creditors or insufficient funds are available with regard to the realization from the assets also, so on the basis of amount distributed to shareholders or unsecured creditors is insufficient, only in that case the formula would be amount available to shareholders or unsecured creditors into rate of commission divided by 100 plus rate of commission. These two formulas can be used for the purpose of calculation of the remuneration to liquidator. Then would be fourth thing would be payment to preferential creditors. So here preferential creditors are to be paid earlier as compared to other creditors. Then by payment to debenture holders with interest. First of all, we have to pay the debenture holder. If suppose funds are available, then we would go for paying of interest. When this would be possible, if the funds are available after paying to the preferential creditors, then we will go for debenture holder, then their interest. Then lastly would be payment to unsecured creditors. The creditors who are not been secured by any kind of assets of the company would be paid last in the terms of payment to the what we can say creditors. Then once all these payments are being settled and funds are available with the company, so at that point of time the company or the liquidator particularly can go for paying the members of the company, that is the shareholders of the company. But before paying to the shareholder, first of all they have to pay to preference shareholder. Why preference shareholder? We have discussed this n number of times in the previous semesters also, that they enjoy certain preferential rights. That is why they are to be paid earlier before the equity shareholders. So with regard to preference shareholder, there can be two types of payment. First one would be repayment of capital, and second one can be the payment of the arrears in dividend. If there are certain arrears with regard to dividend of preference shareholder, they are to be paid once the capital is repaid. So first of all, preference capital is to be paid. If after paying the preference capital funds are available, then preference dividend is to be paid. Once all these things are settled, then comes the number of equity shareholder, that is on the 8th number. They are liable to make payment or to all these, and that is why they do not enjoy certain kind of rights in repayment of capital as well as dividend. So they would be paid in the last of even after preference shareholder, that is equity shareholder, and in last, if suppose after paying all these creditors and the members, funds are available with the liquidator and there is any kind of surplus, then that surplus can be again utilized for paying to the members of the company. But in normal circumstances, it is very difficult to have the surplus with regard to the payment to the after the paying to the creditors and members. There is very difficult position, but still if there is any kind of surplus, it is to be mentioned here. Once all these things are recorded properly as per the adjustment provided into the question, there we have to make the total of the what we can say liquidator's final statement of account, and that total should be automatically tallied as it is tallied into the balance sheet. This is the format of the liquidator's final statement of account. Usually we need to follow the sequence which is mentioned into the format. We cannot change the sequence, and with regard to cash receipt, sequence is quite simple. In cash payment there is a bit length of the sequence and there are many heads, but still we have to remember those heads so that we can make proper sequence while solving the problem and preparing the solution. This is it for this lecture. From next lecture we will start with the practical questions related with the liquidator's final statement of account. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.